Hello, YouTube, Rumble, X, wherever we are. Hope we're all doing okay today. Hope the challenges of the day weren't too hard. Happy St. Valentine's Day. Hope you had a good one. My family, or I should say at least at the beginning, my husband, when we were dating, we were vehemently against Valentine's Day. And it was more against corporatism, really, and being like, why are you forcing us to celebrate these holidays? We're not gonna pay your dues. Like, it was more against them in that regard of like feeling like you're forced into it. Um, and we were that way for a really long time. Uh, my husband and I still don't really celebrate it as far as him and I. We'll celebrate it more with the children. It's a fun thing to learn about St. Valentine and what he did to protect marriage. Uh, he's been celebrated since the 1400s. So it's a pretty long-standing holiday. Um, and it is about spreading love, but it is about marriage. Not all saints are patrons of marriage, but a pretty big one also is Saint John the Baptist. He died and was murdered because of marriage and defending marriage and the sanctity it beholds. So for St. Valentine to also defend marriage, and then shortly after, I believe it was St. Thomas More also died for marriage, the sanctity of it. So it's kind of a funny thing because you don't ever really think marriage needs to be defended because most people are just so against marriage as far as just the grouping of two people to supposedly be together because some eye in the sky says they have to. Like, I wouldn't do it either. In fact, I'm kind of surprised people even get married anymore, frankly. I don't know what the pony show is for, especially if it's not going by your word, which it rarely is anymore. So, and maybe that's just how it's always been, and maybe we just have a higher population now where it just seems like it's all the time. Or it's just accessibility to temptation is a lot more. Because I'm not going to say, oh, back then they had marriage figured out. No, I think that's short-sighted as well, to make any assumptions about, well, they must have done it better. No, I don't think so. It was just different. I think we needed to be a little bit more merciful to ourselves in that regard. But so for people who don't celebrate St. Valentine's Day, I totally understand. I totally get it. Like, my husband and I, we celebrate our wedding anniversary as like our day, right? The day that we got married. We recognize St. Valentine's sacrifice, and so we celebrate it and have a Valentine's Day party. The children don't have school that day, and we watch romance movies, read romance stories, lots of desserts in the shape of hearts and red, white, and pinks, and so on. So there's a lot of celebration in that regard. Everybody wears red and pink. And we just, express our gratitude to St. Valentine. Because who knows when the day will come again, when marriage will have to be defended once again. Like, I don't know if you know the story, but St. Valentine really kind of fell into it because the ruler at the time in Rome was wondering why his soldier recruitment was down. And they blamed it on happy marriages and men wanting to get married and being happy in their marriage. And that's why the count was down. So taking that information or making a real generalization, because who knows if that was even valid, So they were like, oh, well, you don't get to get married anymore. And then recruitment numbers went up because they weren't allowed to do that. So at least they could do this. So it'd be something in their life. So, but then Father Valentine at the time was helping people secretly get married. And read the rest of it. Read the rest of it. It's very interesting. It's very sweet. It's really sweet. So, needless to say, like, it's not like we're totally against it. We try to celebrate holidays with purpose. If we don't understand the purpose, we don't celebrate it anymore. So I can get into that when those holidays come around, whichever they are. But we do celebrate it now with our children and make it a fun little party. So, and talking about marriage, I know I did a couple videos ago on like tough spots in marriages, which can be very hard. And like I said just a few minutes ago about how I'm surprised how people even get married. I really don't understand what the point is if it's not part of a belief system in that, in the main three at least. And that may be really short-sighted sounding coming from me, but if you're like swearing to like a star the value of your vows to this person in a park, I feel like that won't carry much weight. And it doesn't, because they get divorced in 2 to 3, 5 years. So again, it's like, I just don't understand what the point is. Well, I felt like I had to. By who? Nobody promotes marriage at all anymore, and haven't for a really long time. So I don't understand who is coming down on you in society to get married, because it's been in its own way anti-marriage. The family courts definitely have it set up to be a warning to men, to be like, if you're gonna get married, you know, she's gonna get everything when you divorce. So it's been a great deterrent for marriage for men, and I don't blame them. I understand, but it doesn't make it right to let those people control your life. Like, if you're in love with somebody, just, you know, go through the virtues. What virtues do they possess? Not what's her cup size, right? Or what's his bank account, you know? Because hopefully you guys are both in positions where you're in each other's lives to better each other, to aid in coaching each other and bettering each other's lives, and to bring each other closer to God. So that can be really hard. So really be careful who you're choosing, and don't sleep around, because it really muddies everything else. It really does. I know there's lots of different groups now, especially for men, to remain chaste. I know there's different, like, there's like semen retention and no fat pages and stuff, which may seem really vulgar, but it is what it is, right? So we need to pray for these men to be able to overcome these porn addictions, because it's a virus upon them. It should not be tolerated any longer. I think it's shown its true colors to be quite damaging to society at large. I don't know how many more families have to be destroyed by it, or men to be to completely spiral out of productivity. So, and just become suspicious, negative people, cynical, just a bear to deal with, because they're so in the addiction. You know, like any other addict, you know, they're not really fun to be around, and they're really dismissive and rude, and you're like, okay, just go back and do what you need to do and get away from me. Anyway, My point is that if your marriage or you're planning on getting married and you haven't even talked about how you would raise children, you really should not be getting married. My husband and I will be together 22 years this April, so I would even say for people to not get married unless they're willing to accept that their partner will be a person that hurts them the most, will betray them in some way, shape, or form many times, will disappoint them many, many, many times. And you have to be willing to weather that and accept that. And that you will do the same to him or her as well. And that you will be the one. Right? Because through marriage, right, we're able to help each other right our wrongs in our personalities to some extent. To show each other, hey, you're kind of slacking on this part of yourself. Or, you're supposed to aid each other, right? Lifting each other up. And it's a very hard thing. And if you, flip out because the toilet's plugged, I don't know if marriage is for you. But maybe marriage will be kind of like the deep end for you and be like, well, he's either going to sink or swim. Different tactics are good for different people. Unless you're Jewish or Christian, I don't know very much about the Islam marriages, other than some of them. I mean, even as of recently, I think it was Iran. I'm sorry if it's the wrong country. I don't stay too close to it. They just legalize like child marriage. So I really am not fond of that practice at all. I don't see how that's free will. But if you're gonna like swear under some scientist's name or something, like there's nothing wrong with quoting people like that in your wedding reception, but to like build your marriage off of that, like good luck working it out. There needs to be an institution to hold you accountable. And if you don't feel like you don't need to be accountable, then you won't be accountable and the marriage will stop. I know there's plenty of people who are atheist or Buddhist or whatever, and their marriages are still intact. And that's fine as well. Like, that's going to happen. And I know lots of marriages that were Catholic and were absolutely hypocritical. And arrogant and horrific. So I'm just saying, like, why would you, if you could, you should try to figure out why you do the things you do and what for. It kind of came to my husband and I, like, why are we celebrating Christmas this way? We didn't understand, like, we're like, so we're purposely lying to our kids about this Santa man, and he's gonna come down our chimney, which we've never had a chimney, so there's another, like, oh, now we gotta tell him, like, he comes to the door. Where are we gonna hang our socks? We'll lay him on the couch. Like, we had to do quite the amount of acrobats to lie to our children about Santa. So that's what I mean when it's like these things that mean something that you're going to pass on to your children, like, why are we doing them? And marriage is kind of one type of like kick in the pants to yourself personally. Like, what am I doing with my life? Why do I want to be with this person forever? What is the point of being together forever again? Why should I be doing this? These are really good questions to ask. Like, I really struggle to understand what it's like to be a person and never have looked up and asked why. But there are people like that just don't know. They don't ask questions like that. There's not, I don't know, deep thinkers, but I don't even think it's that deep. There's some philosophers that go way into things where even I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But are legitimate thinkers in their own right. Just if you know someone who's going to be getting married, and that's the thing too, is like we all have such levels of arrogance where we're very dismissive of anybody's aid or advice. But I can tell you, for being married this long, I would really delve into, why am I doing this? Do I have clear reasons why I want to be with this person? Because they have these virtues, and I can name them off really quickly. Because we understand the goals and we understand what's called of us when we have children, or what's called of us if we're not able to have children. Are we called to adopt? Are we called to holy, childless, married life? Like, there's various things going on. And sometimes people who get married become priests and nuns later. Or sometimes nuns leave and they get married. Like, either way is a sacrifice. And marriage is going to be tough. It's not, oh, we never fight. We're just so good at it. Yeah, okay. Then I don't know. You guys don't talk about real things then. Like, I would think marriage would be rather boring if you guys agreed on everything across the board at all times. You just married yourself. Oh, we don't talk about those kinds of things. And that's just not my temperament. My husband and I are like a tornado and a volcano when we fight. It's horrible. It's immature. It's not polite. It's ugly. And then we learn sometimes we learn from it. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes it takes more time. We apologize to each other. Apologize to our kids if they're around. Because we don't know what we're doing a lot of the times. We're trying to figure it out. We've been through things that we can teach them, yeah. But don't give up hope. I feel like all my videos are like, don't give up hope, but be realistic. These grandiose weddings and so on always tend to break and shatter. I think there was a really good divorce attorney who was making the rounds on podcasts for a while. I forget his name, but I thought it was really wise for people to listen to him, especially people who are going to get married. Because he was saying, yeah, a lot of people, the divorce rate is high, but all those people who get divorced get remarried. So that should tell us something, that we don't really want to be alone. We just want to pick someone that we think would be a good teammate. And you're not always going to know that for sure, right? You can't try somebody on like a vehicle and take them for a test drive. That's so degrading and demeaning. I think Jordan Peterson recently said on a podcast I recently saw about, when you're living together before marriage, you're with each other until something better comes along. Because there's no loyalty really needed for that arrangement, right? You're kind of playing house. You're seeing if I can tolerate him, if he can change, is usually the remarks, if he can better himself or whatever. And like, people will do that for years and years and then like break up after 8 years. Because the guy's like, well, I don't really need to ask you to marry me because you're already here. I already get all the benefits I would of marriage. And I don't even need to really try that hard until she finally leaves me. Just kind of takes all the air out of the tires to try. And I'm not saying this is true across the board. There's very high goal setting people that believe in higher standards for other reasons that have nothing to do with God. And that's absolutely true. But there will still come a day where you'll get, the rubber will hit the road for you in your soul. And for a lot of us, it takes the hard way to get to that. And I was definitely that person. So was my husband. So I'm not saying like it's either this or nothing. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it would have been a lot more helpful. I would have degraded myself a lot less. I think I would have had more self-respect for myself and less self-hate. So I feel like I wasted time on things where I think Christianity, as far as Catholicism or Orthodoxy, or you're going to waste less time searching for sanity. And in the church, there is sanity between you and God. So I guess the reason I mainly promote it is because of that. How much longer do you want to be insane? At the level of insanity that you are. Right? Like when I had my conversion, I felt like I was Nebuchadnezzar. Just this beastly creature walking on all fours, eating bugs, and grumbling until I submit to the Lord, and then boom, everything changes. It really does. Everybody's experience is different, so it's hard to be like, if you do this, ABC will happen. Like, that's not how it works. Everybody is healing in different ways also. It's very intricate and complex. So if you're going to marry somebody, do it. Do it. Like, and be like married, like marry like the shit out of that person. Like, really do it. It's your marriage. It doesn't have to be, oh, it's the old ball and chain. Like all these tropes from the 90s. Right? How miserable marriage is. I think TV did have something to do with that as far as plastering this idea that marriage is hell. And for some it is, yes. But I'm just saying, like, that it's an overall hellish thing. Because you can't have sex with every other woman now. Because they wanted to have sex with you. Like, it's just this delusion. But as if all these women are waiting for you. But you picked her, so now you can't do them. Or you can't do whatever you want. Right? I think media really has pushed that, and they really push the objectification of women heavily. It's been a lot lighter lately, but I think it's going to go back to that because people think that that's like America. And it's like, well, that was America like in the 80s and 90s, but I hope we've learned from it. We'll see. I don't see how objectifying women in this country has done us any favors. I think it's really increased the velocity and increasingly well penetrated feminist role. Like, I think they've really gotten more efficient at the revenge. I think that's something that people don't understand. That there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of bitterness. when it comes to that. That's a different topic, but so if you're gonna get married, really do it. Like, be excited, set your goals, and find a way to have that accountability. I really would go to the church for it because, yeah, they're not going to fluff you up and be like, oh, well, you messed up. Okay. Well, there's confession, right? But if you confess it over and over, they're going to be like, okay, like, what is going on with you? Why do you think you can just keep doing this? Right? They're going to hold your feet to the fire to change. And it's going to hurt because it's hard to hurt or it's hard to change. Right? It's going to take some suffering. It is. And it's for your own good. Right? Like Jocko says, discipline equals freedom. And it's so true. You will increase the discipline in all aspects of your life, and you will become a beautiful instrument of God for yourself and for your spouse. Marriage is a great adventure with the right attitude. And I'm just saying the time it took for my husband and I to actually reach conversion, it's like so much time was wasted. So many bad choices were made. What were we thinking? It doesn't have to be like that. Being a Christian empowers your life because you're a child of God and God wants you to live a full life. He wants you to experience and to treat those others with kindness, even though they snap and snarl at you. So get married. It is tricky to know who's who, but there's certain, if you can't name the virtues, look up what are virtues and really dig deep and be like, does Debbie is she this? Is she fortitude? Does she have fortitude? Does she have perseverance? Is she charitable? Does she have faith? Is she hopeful? I think there's like 62 different virtues. So it's worth checking out. It's a really good, like, okay. And then also for yourself to be like, well, where am I? What could she say about me? Would that be true? How can I rise above? If you're going to get married, really do it and be excited about it. Help each other set goals and help each other achieve them and really hold each other to account. And it will be the best. You'll never regret it. Well, I won't say never. Maybe 90% of the time you won't regret it. There might be a time or 2 or 3, depending on how long your marriage is. It's not for the weak. And even if you are weak in the beginning, give it a few years and you will be strong. A lot stronger than you were. The both of you. And you'll be this great team. And you'll look back those 5 years and be like, man, we were so stupid back then. It can be truly, it's like the gift that keeps giving. It really is. And it doesn't mean there's not going to be hardships. There are. There's going to be plenty of them. And you can decide how to handle them together. And it's a lot more fun having a partner to shoot the breeze with in all manners of life and being intimate. It's a good thing. So date for a while, right? I know some people, like my grandma's age, they got married like knowing each other for 2 weeks. I would wait a little bit more than that. I really would. Because some people are very good at hiding their personalities of who they actually are. So there is that. So we do have to be careful. I'm not going to say get married in a month, but I would say a year or two. That should give you, that's going to be, you know, and try to and remain chaste. You shouldn't have to have sex. You know what sex is. You don't need, you both are going to be bad at it at the beginning of your marriage. You're both going to be bad at it. So remove the pride that you're going to be this amazing person in bed. Like, you don't know because you don't know. And the objectifying of, like, well, he better have 7 inches or she better have double D's or whatever the stance is disgusting to objectify each other so much. And in such ways that you know, if a tornado took your house away, it's not going to matter if she has double D's. If your child dies, it's not going to matter that he has 7 inches or doesn't or whatever. Like, these things, they matter and they don't. And we can always better each other. The world wants us to look at us as objects. We need to look deeper and to see the virtues, because the virtues will accumulate to stick out, especially over a year of time. You should be able to see. To make sure that you're not marrying a narcissist, psychopath, Machiavellian, sadist, right? Because those traits will also stick out over a year because something won't feel right. There'll always be like, there's like recurring issues. And the best thing you can do for that person is to say to get help. Like, I don't think you're ready for this. I think you need help. Which I'm sure they'll take lovely, right? So be careful dating out there. I know I can't even imagine dating right now. I'm so glad I don't have to. I hope my husband lives and we both live till we're grown old, and so I never have to date again. That's so bad I don't want to date again because it just seems like a scary thing now. Although it's probably not. I just don't want to be like swiping like a catalog. And now we're coming in the age of sex dolls. That's going to be, I don't know how women are going to compete, and I don't know how men, I don't know why they would want to compete. Because that really kind of takes all the air out of the tires, period. So that's a really scary thing. As a society, we should really come to grip with that reality of what that will mean, considering what porn has done already. This will only escalate it, and that will probably be the end of human civilization. We will be the downfall at a robot with tits. It's pretty sad. But God willing, there will be some good men that will stand up. Because it's kind of like the complete objectification of a female body. That's another topic. So if you know anybody that's getting married, cheer them on, empower them. Really ask them what kind of values and virtues and what are you guys going to do when you have children? And are those good things that you want how you want to raise the children? Are you gonna do a home birth? Are you gonna do a hospital birth? All these decisions really add up. And if you are single yourself and considering marriage, or you're divorced and you're thinking about marriage again, just start to pray about it. Just start talking to God about it. Like, I'm thinking about it. What do you think? Do you think it's, just start a casual conversation, because that's praying. And just ask him what he thinks is best. And he's not a butler, right? He's not going to be like, well, Scott down the street, Like, right? It's gonna happen in a way you'll recognize. That's personal. That's personalized for you. So, happy hunting if you're looking for a spouse. And if you are married, I hope you had a great Saint Valentine's Day. Until next time, take care.